Good afternoon, students. This is a short video, but very important. Important in the sense that this is regarding the hyoglossus muscle, which is the muscle of the tongue and present in the submandibular region, and this is considered as the key muscle. So, in answer of this, you can write like that it is an extrinsic muscle of tongue. Okay, here I am saying that it is an extrinsic muscle of tongue. What does it mean? That means this muscle has at its one end attached to some bone, and that is here it is attached to hyoid bone, and the other end or the insertion end is attached to that of the tongue. Okay, in the musculature of the tongue it goes. So it also forms the musculature of the tongue. Okay, that's why it is called as the hyoglossus muscle. And as I said that this is considered as the key muscle of the submandibular region. Key muscle, why it is considered as key muscle of the submandibular region? Because all other structure, superficial and deep structure of submandibular region, they are related to this muscle. So if you learn this muscle well, that means you know the submandibular region properly. And this is the reason why examiner asks the relationship mostly of this hyoglossal muscle, hyoglossus muscle, because this will tell you how much you know about the submandibular region, whether it is correct or not. Just by knowing the relation of this, you can judge a student, whether he knows about the submandibular region or not. Let us come to its description, that is origin, insertion, no supply, and action. First we will deal, and at length then I will deal with that of the relation of this muscle, which are most important. Now this is a rectangular muscle. Let us see and understand this diagram. First, this is the cross section of the mandible. This is incisor teeth of the mandible here. This is just a slightly passing towards the paramedian plane, and then on the posterior aspect of this mandible, this is superior and inferior genial tubercles are shown here. Now this bone which is shown here is the hyoid bone. This is the body of the hyoid, and this is the greater cornua of the hyoid bone. Then this is tongue. Now here on the dorsal aspect of the tongue, it is still covered by the mucous membrane of the tongue. That's why the pink color is given here. Now in this deeper part, at the root of the tongue, these structures are exposed just to show you the position of the hyoglossus muscle in the submandibular region. So this is the hyoglossus muscle, and it is rectangular muscle. See this? This muscle is hyoglossus, which is below attached to that of the hyoid bone, and above its substance is going in the substance of the tongue, that is within the musculature of the tongue. This muscle is also going. Then you will see that from the upper genial tubercle here, the muscle which is forming a fan shape, and radiating backward, this is the genioglossus muscle. I will just name it here, genioglossus. Genioglossus muscle it is. And below that, from the lower genial tubercle up to the hyoid bone body, the muscle, thin muscle which is going, is called as the geniohyoid muscle. So these are the two muscles which are taking origin from the mandible anteriorly and one is going to the hyoid bone completely, while other is radiating and going to the tongue and then going also to the hyoid. Lower part is going to the hyoid bone. So these are the two muscles, genioglossus and geniohyoid. And here is the high bone with the greater carnua here, the other muscle which is coming from above. Here is the stellate process. Just if I draw the stellate process, this muscle and this ligament, they are coming from the stellate process and going towards the tongue. So I will just roughly name it as stellate process, okay? And this gives origin to this muscle which is called as the styloglossus. So this muscle which is taking origin from stellate process is the styloglossus. That means from stellate process to the tongue. That's why styloglossus. Here, if you will trace this muscle, styloglossus, it lies superficial to this quadrilateral or rectangular hyoglossus muscle. Here it is, because you can see that the fibers of the hyoglossus muscle, they are going deep to this styloglossus. Okay, deep to this. Right. Then from this stellate process, and another structure is taking origin, and this is called as a ligament, and it is the stylohyde ligament. This is called as stylohyde ligament. So this is stellate process, this is styloglossus muscle written here, and stylohyde is the ligament which will go to the hide bone deep to the hyoglossus muscle. But another structure from this area is also going deep to the this hyoglossus muscle and deep to the stylohyde ligament, and this is now called as the glossopharyngeal nerve. And this glossopharyngeal nerve is that of the ninth cranial nerve. It is the ninth glossopharyngeal nerve. And then here you can see a nerve is lying on the on the superior. Okay, I'm sorry. It is lying superficial to the hyoglossus muscle here, just below the styloglossus muscle, and this nerve is the mandibular branch, that is lingual nerve, branch from the mandibular nerve. So this is called as lingual nerve, sensory. Most of the fibers are sensory, right? This is the lingual nerve. And then hanging from the lingual nerve is this ganglion, and this ganglion is collection of the nerve cell, parasympathetic. So it is a parasympathetic ganglion called as the submandibular ganglion. Ganglion. Submandibular ganglion, mandibular, okay, I am not writing the full, submandibular ganglion, and this is hanging with the two twigs or two roots, okay, on and lying on the superficially onto that of the superficial surface of the hyoglossus muscle. And from the other end of this submandibular ganglion, many small nerve threads like structures are coming, which will supply to the submandibular gland, okay. And this submandibular gland is the deep part of the a superficial part lies superficial to the mylohyoid muscle, and deep part just it make a round, it just goes around that of the posterior margin of the mylohyoid and then come to lie between mylohyoid and the hyoglossus. So this is that deep part of the submandibular gland. I will write it here. Deep part. Deep part. This is a small part. The superficial part is a bigger part. Okay, so deep part of submandibular gland. Deep part of the submandibular gland it is. And from the anterior end of the deep part of submandibular gland extending here and then winding around, making a loop around the lingual nerve here, which is going to supply the anterior two-thirds of the tongue. This lingual nerve will supply sensory fibers to the anterior two-thirds, as well as it will supply the taste sensory fibers also. Okay, general sensation and taste sense that I have already discussed in the submandibular ganglion. Okay, the roots of submandibular ganglion. Now this duct which I was talking will go and form a loop. Okay, it will cross superficial now to come into the sublingual area where there is a sublingual punctum is present, in which it will open and pour the saliva of both superficial and deep part of the submandibular gland into the oral cavity. Okay, oral cavity. So papilla is present here where this duct will open on the under surface of the tongue, ventral surface of the tongue. So this is about the lingual nerve, submandibular ganglion, some deep part of submandibular gland, and this is the submandibular duct. Okay, submandibular duct. Okay, and then here, which I have just represented with the dotted line resting onto genioglossus and intervening are this lingual nerve and the duct here. Okay, this is the sublingual gland. Okay, I will write it here. This gland. Okay, this dotted line is structure shown here. This is the sublingual gland, which is not shown here. Okay, I mean to say completely not shown, only its outline is drawn so that you can see the deeper relationship between the lingual nerve and the duct. Okay, sublingual gland. Okay. This is the sublingual gland is here, right? So submandibular and sublingual gland is here. Then if we go still down, so I mean say lower down, superficial to this hyoglossus muscle lies this another nerve, and this is the 12th cranial nerve, hypoglossal. It is the 12th cranial nerve, the hypoglossal nerve, which is motor to the muscles of the tongue. It is motor to the muscles of the tongue. At the posterior end of the greater carnua of the hide bone, there is the presence of a muscle which is called as the middle constrictor of pharynx. Middle constrictor of pharynx. So this is the muscles of the pharyngeal wall, and on the surface of this middle constrictor of pharynx, there is presence of this artery which is forming a loop, that is at the tip of the greater cornua of hide bone, just posterior, that is the loop, and this artery is the lingual artery. This is called as lingual artery, and this loop of the lingual artery is crossed by the hypoglossal nerve. It is crossed by the hypoglossal nerve, and as I said that this hypoglossal nerve is motor to the muscles of the tongue. I hope that this is all about this diagram. Okay, and now we will go to the text of this short note or the subject. I mean to say the question where the question was describe the hypoglossal muscle and its relation. Let us start describing this muscle. Okay, after understanding this, now origin. The origin of the hyoglossus muscle. Okay, this is the hyoglossus muscle description we are doing, and this is the hyoglossus muscle takes its origin from the lateralmost part of the hide bone, body of the hide. See these fibers, they are taking origin. Okay, here, see this, body of the hide bone, and the rest of the muscle is taking origin from the greater carnua of the hide. So both from body and greater carnua of the hide bone, this is the origin of the muscle. Okay, now the fibers of this hyoglossus, they will run upward and forward, where they will go deep to this muscle is styloglossus muscle. They will go, but they will lie superficial to the I mean to say intrinsic muscle. Okay, intrinsic muscles, it will lie superficial to this. Now let us come to the insertion. The posterior half of the lateral side of the tongue, it gets inserted in the posterior half of the lateral side. This is the anterior half of the tongue, and this is the posterior half of the tongue is here. This is anterior, posterior. So this muscle get inserted into the posterior half on the lateral margin of the tongue. Okay, and these fibers, they interdigitate with the styloglossus, though it lies deep to the stylo, but some of the fibers may interdigitate. That means they will crisscross. Okay, that means fibers of styloglossus may superficial, and in between there will be some fibers going through the substance of the muscles. Okay, they will be there, so it will go and insert into the posterior half of the tongue. Okay, now supply. Okay, so you have seen the origin, insertion. Let us see the nerve supply. Nerve supply, as I said, that hypoglossal or 12th cranial nerve, it is the motor to all the muscles of tongue. Okay, all the muscles of tongue. So this will send the fibers to supply the hyoglossus muscle. So some fibers will come and they will supply, as it is lying on to the hyoglossus, this will send the fibers to supply it. Okay, so this is the relation, I mean say the how the nerve is supplying to this. Then come to the action. You can see with the help of this diagram what should be the action of this muscle. Now this muscle, when it will contract, okay, it will pull the tongue and especially the margin of the tongue in the posterior half of the tongue downwards. Okay, it will pull it downwards. Okay, and downwards and backwards it will pull, because fibers are going upwards and forwards. So the action will be just opposite, downwards and fiber and the backward. Okay, because it is attached to the lateral margin of the tongue. And if the two muscles are contracting together, what will happen that both the lateral margin of the posterior half of the tongue will come down, so that the dorsal surface of tongue will become more convex. Okay, it will become more convex. Now this muscle is also used for retracting of the tongue. As I said that the fibers are going upwards and forward, so it will bring the tongue backwards. Okay, it will take, so it is used for the retracting of the tongue muscle, tongue, right? Now we come to the relations. After understanding the origin, insertion, nerve supply and action, we are now coming to the relation. And relation we will learn in two different heads, a superficial and the deep relation. So let us come first to the superficial. This diagram is showing the superficial relation of the hyoglossus muscle. So what are the structures which are superficial here? Okay, though it is not shown here, but one of the muscle which will be superficial here will be the mylohyoid muscle. It will be the mylohyoid in most of its anterior part. This muscle is covered by the mylohyoid muscle. Okay, that muscle has been removed from here to expose the hyoglossus completely. But the mylohyoid muscle is, lies superficial, especially in the anterior part of the hyoglossus. Here, right up to here, it may lie here like that. Okay, so that is the mylohyoid muscle, and you know about mylohyoid. I have told you already about when I was teaching you the submandibular gland. Okay. Now the second structure which lies superficial to it is this lingual nerve. We have already seen this. See this lingual nerve, branch of the mandibular nerve, which is containing fibers going to the dorsum of the tongue, that is sensory fibers, okay, for pain, touch and temperature, and it is also bringing the sensation of the taste, which will of course not go to the mandibular nerve, but it will go through cauda tympani muscle, nerve, to that of the trunk of the facial nerve, okay, to ultimately to end in the nucleus called as the nucleus of tractus solitarius. Okay, so the taste fiber and general sensation fibers are present in this lingual nerve. Okay, so one of the, in upper part, the content, if you see that content, relation is the styloglossus on the topmost, then it will come the lingual nerve, then it will come the submandibular ganglion. See this some hanging by the lingual nerve. This will be another superficial relation. And just deep to the inferior to the submandibular ganglion, there will be the submandibular gland, and this is the deep part of the submandibular gland. This is deep part of, and from its anterior end going upwards and forward is the duct. Okay, that is the submandibular duct. Okay, and some mandibular gland. So the duct is also forming the superficial relation here, anterior to this gland, anterior to the deep part of the submandibular gland. And just below this, okay, below this is another nerve which is lying superficial, and we have already learned that this is the 12th cranial nerve, hypoglossal, which is motor to the muscles of the tongue, whether they are intrinsic or extrinsic muscles. Okay, now this will be also followed by the veins, the hypoglossal nerve, and they are called as veni committantes. Okay, above and below the two vein will be running along with it, veni committantes. Excuse me please. And then here lying will be the suprahyde branch of the lingual artery. Okay, a lingual artery here will give a branch which will lie above the greater cornua of the hyoid bone. Okay, that is also the superficial relation. Though I have not drawn, I will draw just now. Suprahyde branch here like that. And this is the veins which will be following. The veins will be here. Okay, veni committantes. And the suprahyde branch of the lingual artery, they will be another superficial relation. Okay, I hope that I have covered all the superficial relation. Now come to the deep relation. The deep relation, if you see here, it will be, you can see from the posterior border which are the structures which are going deep to that of the hyoglossus muscle from its posterior border. One of the nerve which is going deep is the glossopharyngeal nerve. So this nerve is lying deep and it is going to the posterior 1/3 of the tongue. This is going to supply the sensory taste fibers from the posterior 1/3, including the the circumvallate papillae will be supplied by the on the dorsal aspect which lies in front of the sulcus limitans. They will be supplied by the glossopharyngeal nerve. Then there will be a ligament, we have seen this ligament, and this ligament is coming from the styloid process and then going to the hyoid bone. So it is called as the stylohyoid ligament. So this is the stylohyoid ligament is here, which is also lie deep to it. And then this will be the lingual artery is going after forming a loop. Okay, this lingual artery will go deep to that of the hyoglossus muscle. See this here, it is forming loop deep to the hypoglossal nerve, and then it will go inside. Okay, it will go deep to the hyoglossus muscle, and that is the lingual artery, and it will be also followed by veni committantes. Then there will be deep to it will be going in another muscle here, and that is the middle constrictor. See the fibers of middle constrictor, they will be going deep to the hyoglossus muscle. Okay, deep to the hyoglossus muscle. Then there will be the genioglossus. Okay, so these were structures which were going deep right from the posterior border of hyoglossus. That way you can remember. Okay, right. But from anterior border, which structures are going deep to the hyoglossus muscle? And these structures are the nothing but a single one, and that is the posterior part of the genioglossus muscle, this fanciable muscle. The posterior part of this genioglossus muscle is going deep to the hyoglossus muscle. Okay, hyo. So it's in deep relation, as we can see here. See these all fibers, they are going deep here. Okay, this complete a short answer to the question, describe the hyoglossus muscle and its relation. You will need to draw just a single diagram. Just practice this diagram, as this is very frequently asked question, the relationship of the hyoglossus muscle. Thank you very much for watching this video.